Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Second Tuesday Forum, a few new faces, and so we're very happy to see you all here. For those of you that this is your first time attending, the program usually runs, the format is set up in such a way that the speakers will present their program, and then towards the end of their program, there will be questions and answers. And we do try to get out of here at 1 o'clock. The Commodore is very gracious to afford us this particular venue. It's obviously very popular with everybody, but they do have a staff and they do need to prepare for the movies this evening. So we do have to be aware of the time constraints. I'm Sue Burton. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Second Tuesday Forum. And next up will be Mary Hodges, who is the other co-chair. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce our speakers. Leila Rice is one of our speakers, and she serves as Public Affairs Manager for Elizabeth River Crossings. Before joining ERC last July, Leila worked in the Hampton Roads media, reporting traffic on several radio and television stations and managing metro networks both here and in Richmond. She also co-hosted the morning show on WAFX-FM before transitioning into public relations. Leila earned her bachelor's degree from James Madison University and currently resides in Suffolk with her husband and 2 sons. Our second speaker is Karen Meyers. She joined the Virginia Department of Transportation in October 2012 as the Communications Coordinator for Special Projects. Ms. Meyers is currently working on the Elizabeth River Tunnels Project and U.S. Route 460 Corridor Project, recently branded the Commonwealth Connector. Prior to joining the project team, she was marketing director for an electrical distributor in Chesapeake and also spent 10 years at Wavy TV in the Creative Services Department. She brings 15 years of experience in public relations and marketing to the Elizabeth River Tunnels project team. Ms. Meyers earned her BS in Communications from Barton College in Wilson, North Carolina, and is a lifelong resident of Hampton Roads. Please join me in welcoming our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm a little tall for this microphone.
It's pretty sensitive.
There we go. Okay, very good. Thank you, Sue, Mary, and Todd for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to share information about the Elizabeth River Tunnels project with you, give you some updates on where we are with the project, and hopefully answer some questions that you may have based on what you've heard, what you know, and maybe clarify some myths that are out there regarding the project. Again, I think Mary did a great job in introducing myself, Leila Rice, and Karen Meyers. So as we move forward, we're going to just give you a basic agenda of the project. We're going to give you an overview of the project, the benefits it brings to Hampton Roads, the overall project development timeline, and kind of a construction timeline as we have it right now. Also give you an update on the various work streams, including the rehabilitation, the new construction activity, the actual fabrication of the tunnel elements themselves, how the project was funded and financed, to give you a little bit of a update on how that works exactly, the various funding streams, tolling, yes, being one of them, and also to talk about the outreach that Elizabeth River Tunnels is doing, Elizabeth River Crossings is doing for the project and to better serve our community. I'm going to turn it over to Karen just to give you guys a little bit of a history of the tunnels themselves.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a little bit of the histories, and let's see, they date back to 1952 when the westbound tunnel was built. And again, 1962, the Midtown was built to help ease some of the traffic congestion during that time, which compared to today's traffic congestion is probably a big difference, I would say. 86 was the second downtown eastbound was built, and 87, the westbound closed for 6 months for rehabilitation. And 87, the westbound, okay, let's see, 2003, Hurricane Isabel flooded the Midtown Tunnel. Some of you may remember that. Yeah, you're shaking your head, so yeah. We'll move along. 2011, the ceiling panels were removed from the downtown west due to safety concerns. And just to note, both tunnels were originally tolled, and it was 20 cents an axle. which was, again, 1952 and 62, so that was a long time ago.
And for those of you that aren't familiar with the project itself, this video that we're about to show kind of gives you an overview of how you build a tunnel in Hampton Roads, and it gives you kind of the nuts. It's kind of an interesting video just to see exactly how that happens, because the last tunnel that was actually built here was over 20 years ago, and that was the Monitor Merrimack. So it's something of a historic event.
The current Midtown Tunnel between Norfolk and Portsmouth, Virginia, is one of the most heavily traveled two-lane highways in the Commonwealth. The proposed second Midtown Tunnel will increase capacity, reduce congestion, and provide safe and efficient operations for years to come. The SKW construction team is comprised of a joint venture between Skanska USA Civil Southeast, Kiewit Infrastructure Company, and Weeks Marine. They will be supported by a design team of Parsons Brinkerhoff and Volkert and Associates. A significant example of this team's previous experience in immersed tube construction is the world's widest underwater vehicular tunnel, the Fort McHenry Tunnel in Baltimore, constructed by Skanska and Kiewit and designed by Parsons Brinkerhoff. The Elizabeth River Tunnels project can be separated into 5 distinct areas of construction. The second Midtown Tunnel itself, which will be built using immersed tube tunnel methods, the Norfolk approach, the Portsmouth approach, and an extension of the Martin Luther King Expressway, which will provide a direct high-speed connection to I-264. And finally, rehabilitation of both downtown tunnels and the existing Midtown Tunnel. Although the majority of the immersed tunnels in the United States have been steel shell concrete tunnels like the Fort McHenry and the existing Midtown and downtown tunnels, concrete tunnel elements are being fabricated both for their cost savings and flexibility of design. Tunnel fabrication will involve the construction of 11 rectangular reinforced concrete tunnel elements with temporary bulkheads installed on each end so the tunnel elements will float. The tunnel elements are being fabricated in Sparrows Point, Maryland, and will be towed down the Chesapeake Bay to the job site, where they will be safely moored and prepared for immersion. Floatouts are currently planned in 2 phases, spring 2014 and spring 2015. 2 to 3 tunnel elements will be outfitted at the VPA PMT dock at a time, with remaining tunnel elements temporarily moored while awaiting a berth at the VPA PMT. Prior to the installation of the elements, trenches will have to be excavated on land and in the Elizabeth River. Approximately 1.5 million cubic yards of sediments will be excavated, with approximately 10% being disposed at an upland facility and 90% approved for ocean placement. For the land excavation, existing abandoned timber piles and shoreline debris would be removed, and a steel supportive excavation system installed. Ground within the system will be removed to make way for the new tunnel. Installation of the immersed tunnel elements will require dredging a trench using a dredging barge and crane with clamshell bucket. The trench will be approximately 55 feet wide at the bottom and filled with a minimum of 2 feet of gravel that will be leveled to the proper grade using a screed barge. To complete the screed foundation for one immersed tube requires 3 setups. Placing the tunnel elements will be performed using a special catamaran barge with placing girders spanning the opening between the barge hulls. This placing barge is capable of receiving, supporting, ballasting, and lowering the negatively buoyant elements. To achieve negative buoyancy, water ballast tanks will be installed in each tunnel element. Removable survey towers mounted on the outboard end of each element, combined with global positioning system technology, will be used to control the horizontal and vertical placement of each element during installation. Each tunnel element being placed has a thick rubber seal attached to its inboard end. It is compressed against a steel plate on the outboard end of the receiving element, and when water is pumped out of the joint chamber between the concrete bulkheads, it creates a watertight seal between the new and previously placed element. The approach for the placement sequence is to install each of the 11 tunnel elements sequentially, beginning mid-2014 on the Portsmouth side and moving toward the Norfolk side. Elements will be placed at a rate of about 1 per month, with the placement of the last element occurring mid-2015. The closure pours will be done in the dry on the Norfolk side, allowing for any necessary adjustments. Approximately 2 1/2 of the elements fall within the federal shipping channel. Backfill of the installed immersed tunnel requires 3 distinct backfill operations. Immediately after an element is placed, The locking backfill is placed first to prevent any horizontal movement of the element. The tunnel elements are then covered with ordinary backfill designed to provide a protective cover over the tunnel. The final layer of backfill will consist of armor stone placed to protect from scour and from dragging ship anchors or other possible marine impact. Backfill operations will be performed using two methods: placing the backfill with a specialized barge equipped with tremie pipes or clamshell bucket. The tunnel interior will largely be determined by the required traffic clearances, requirements for ventilation, fire protection, and evacuation. A longitudinal ventilation system based on jet fans will result in the smallest cross-section while having the added benefit of the lowest future maintenance costs. Fireproofing mounted directly to the tunnel walls and ceiling, coupled with a sprinkler deluge system, will provide protection from potential fires inside the new Midtown Tunnel. The design calls for an egress corridor accessible from the main tunnel by fire-rated doors spaced 300 feet apart. The Norfolk Approach roadway connects directly with the existing westbound lanes, thereby minimizing work within the existing interchange. The vertical alignment required to meet the Norfolk Approach will necessitate an expansion of the current peninsula by installing some earth fill in the river. This required expansion was kept to a minimum. The access road to the existing tunnel vent building will need to be permanently relocated. The Portsmouth Approach roadway yields a simple curve that fits within the existing right-of-way. The port access road will have to be relocated permanently, and other temporary relocations of roads and railways will be required during construction, particularly within the port property. The relocation of the access roads and other approach roadway work will result in some minimal right-of-way impacts in Norfolk and Portsmouth. The Martin Luther King Expressway extension and interchange will provide a direct freeway-to-freeway connection between I-264 and the Midtown Tunnels. The Elizabeth River Tunnels project and its 5 distinct areas of construction, the immersed tunnel, the Norfolk Approach, the Portsmouth Approach, the extension of the Martin Luther King Expressway, and the rehabilitation of the downtown tunnels and the existing Midtown Tunnel represent a smart growth investment. An investment in safe traffic operations, preventative maintenance, and rehabilitation that will keep the area's roads and tunnels running smoothly and preserve both the quality of the assets and the quality of service provided to the traveling public.
Never think about any of that when you drive through the tunnel, do you? You don't realize how much work it takes to get something like that done, but the engineering is pretty amazing.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the benefits of the project. The project is a $2.1 billion project. Of course, it has a lot of components that you just saw in the video. It's a regional network roadway project. In addition, the addition of the new Midtown Tunnel will also save 6 million vehicle hours annually, as well as 17 million gallons of fuel that's wasted sitting in traffic. The public-private partnership, which is the 3P, allows construction to begin now instead of waiting for funds to become available. So partnering with a private business helps to bring the project, to the area a lot sooner. Okay, so this one.
Obviously, the Commonwealth's contribution of $309 million, the initial contribution allows us to get a $2.1 billion project off the ground and delivered to Hampton roads. Another advantage, of course, is the elimination of bidirectional traffic, making it much safer in the Midtown Tunnel, and also easing congestion throughout. At the end of the project, once it's complete, there'll be an average of 30-minute savings in your commute time through the Elizabeth River tunnels, both the downtown and the Midtown Tunnel. As you know, right now rehabilitation is taking place in the downtown tunnel, and when Karen shared that timeline with you earlier, the last time the westbound downtown tunnel was rehabilitated was in 1986-87, and if you'll recall in that slide, that tunnel was shut down for 6 straight months to allow that work to happen. We're currently doing that work with trying to make as little impact to the motorists as possible. Initially, we began with weekend full closures. We managed to get 8 full weekends done and quite a bit accomplished in those 8 weekends, so that now we were able to go to weeknight only closures per the request of the city. So we were able to make that happen for them and continue with the rehabilitation work. Again, the downtown tunnel westbound is some 61, 62 years old, and it has to be maintained and brought up to current standards, or as close to current standards as we can. Another part of the project that a lot of people aren't aware of is our annual contribution to Hampton Roads Transit, approximately $2 million a year, to help get those bus routes, to extend the bus services specific to the downtown and midtown tunnels between Norfolk and Portsmouth, and also extend ferry service to bring it up to higher levels so that there is an option so you don't have to pay a toll to travel through the tunnel. One of the main benefits, of course, that many people seem to overlook are the economic benefits. If, for example, a company were to come into the area and bring in 150 jobs, it would be highly touted by all departments of economic development. And that's something that a lot of people aren't aware of with this project. Elizabeth River Crossings right now currently employs approximately 150 people between ERC and our contractor who's opened up the customer service center in Portsmouth. Also, we have some 500 plus project-related jobs. We're contracting with local contractors here in Hampton Roads, we have goals to maintain for disadvantaged business involvement, also small women and minority-owned businesses. We're also working with veterans. ERC is working to become a Virginia Values Veterans employer, and we do actively seek out veterans for employment.
Everyone's heard a lot about this project probably in the past couple years, but actually the project has been in development since 2008. Along with outreach, that's been going on since 2010. So if all of this can be found on the website, but if you've just recently heard about it, maybe with some of the tolling in the newspaper, this project has actually been in development since 2008. Oh, I got one more. Okay. Just want to talk about the actual partnership between VDOT and ERC. VDOT will maintain the ownership and oversight of the project. For 58 years, ERC will operate and maintain the facilities. VDOT can suspend the tolls for evacuations for emergencies. ERC will assume all the traffic, revenue, and toll collection risk, as well as they're responsible again for the operations and maintenance of the facilities for a 58-year contract.
And as Karen touched on, as of last July, Elizabeth River Crossings assumed operations and maintenance of the downtown and midtown tunnels and some 51 lane miles of associated roadway. And as part of a dedicated funding source, the Virginia Department of Transportation and the Commonwealth holds ERC to a higher standard of maintenance on those roadways. Dedicated safety service patrols. We have situations where we have a dedicated phone line, 855 ERT road. Motorists can call in if there's any damage to their vehicle, if they notice damage on the roadway, anything like that. We respond to it fairly quickly. We also manage to keep up with all inquiries within a timely fashion and respond back if there's damage to your vehicle. We have a process in place for that. And again, those are all standards that they're higher standards than originally kept by VDOT because there's a dedicated funding source, and that's per our contract. And that gets to the rehabilitation. Again, these rehabilitation efforts are needed. They are not cosmetic. While it does make them look nicer in some areas, if you've driven through the downtown tunnel, you'll see now that the ProMat fireproofing kind of has lightened up the tunnel a little bit with the white on the that's there to help protect the structure of the tunnel from any fire. We're also adding ventilation improvements, and these are all per the Federal Highway Administration to bring those tunnels as close to code as we possibly can with the existing structures that are 62 years old for the existing downtown tunnel westbound, 26 years old for the eastbound tunnel, and then 51 years old for the midtown tunnel, bringing them up to code as much as we possibly can. And there's approximately $140 million in upgrades to the 3 existing tunnels that are taking place. Just some photos of what's taking place right now. You'll see at the top of your screen the ProMat that's being installed for the fireproofing. There's concrete repair that's taking place. It's called spalling when concrete kind of pulls away, so we're repairing all of that. Also installing new LED lighting, which is brighter, also more energy efficient. and last longer, which means for you, the motorists, we're not going into the tunnel every couple of years to do relamping and blocking lanes of traffic. So there's a benefit to that as well. And the new construction activity, actually, we're beginning this week on the MLK extension. And you've been provided some maps with the overview of the work that's taking place. We're also, if you're available, we do have an open house that we'll be having this Thursday at Calvary Baptist Church on London Boulevard, 4:30 to, is it 5 to 6:30? 4:30 to 6:30. And you're welcome to come in. We'll have engineers on hand to explain what's taking place. The initial beginning of the work will be lane closures on 264. And we'll go into a permanent ramp closure at Des Moines Boulevard and additional work. That information has been shared with you. If you didn't get a chance to pick up a packet, just see one of us afterwards and we can provide you with that information. And the various construction that's in progress, you'll see that top center picture. That's actually one of the tunnel elements with the form that they pour the concrete around. We have, I think, 2 completed elements right now, and there are 4 others in progress, and then the first 6, they call it a litter. New terminology for me. The first 6 elements, that first litter will be coming down in the spring of next year. And the financing part. Just, I'm not sure how familiar you all with the private-public partnership or the PPTA, but the essential tenet behind it is the risk transfer. All the risk falls to Elizabeth River Crossings. The loan repayment, everything falls to us. The revenue and loan repayment falls to Elizabeth River Crossings. The Commonwealth has 0 risk in this project. There have been other projects, for example, that have had poor performance, low traffic. Therefore, the company that was taking care of it didn't make the money. Pocahontas Parkway is a perfect example here in Virginia. There's also the South Bay Expressway in California, but more or less the Pocahontas Parkway you may be familiar with. All of the risk falls to the private partner. The public still gets the roadway. And just to explain, because a lot of, there's been in the media some errors in reporting regarding a guaranteed 13.5% revenue or profit. ERC can only gain a profit or make a profit on the money that they've contributed, the equity, the $272 million. They do not stand a profit on the loans they've taken out. They have to pay the loans back. All of the loans have to be paid back by ERC, and there is a process for payment. The initial toll revenue comes in. The first place that money goes is to construction, operations, and maintenance. There are also loans that have to be paid back, the private activity bonds, the TIFIA loans. We have reserve accounts that are mandated by the Virginia Department of Transportation, and those are for any major structural things that may have to be taken care of with the existing tunnels. We also have, then at that point, if there is revenue to be made, it goes to ERC. Anything above and beyond a 13.5%, which is not guaranteed but allowed per the PPTA, that would go to VDOT, and VDOT would be required to use that money exclusively on this project. And one other important thing to note is their revenue won't be coming in until, we can't collect anything until 2021. Just hopefully that explains a little bit about it. And if you have questions, I may be able to answer those. If not, I'll have to ask you to email me and I'll get the answer for you. And as you all know, the project will be tolled as of February 1st, 2014. The downtown and midtown tunnels will be tolled. We do have a customer service center that has opened up right here in Portsmouth on Port Center Parkway, 700 Port Center Parkway, that's open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Tolling will be based on peak and off-peak times. Peak time for the downtown and midtown tunnels is 5:30 to 9 a.m. and 2:30 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Holidays, weekends, and all other times are off-peak. There are 2 ways to pay. There are no toll booths. We're all used to toll booths around here, dropping your money in. If you remember when it used to be 44, 264, taking any ramp into Virginia Beach, you drop your dime in. There are no toll booths on this project. The project has gantries, and you'll drive through the gantry. You don't stop to pay. And either you pay with an Easy Pass or you pay by license plate. A picture of your license plate is taken, and you'll receive an invoice in the mail. We highly recommend people take an Easy Pass because it is the least expensive way to pay for the toll. With the pay by plate or video tolling, there is a processing fee involved because there is process involved to it. Scanning, reviewing the video, doing the billing, so it's expensive. If you don't register your plate, it's $3.18 per trip through the tunnel on top of your toll. So we do advocate Easy Pass. And there's the picture of the customer service center we have open now. We also have, for those who would like to get an Easy Pass before January 3rd, just an incentive of 5 free trips through the project. Whether you drive a commercial vehicle, a truck, it's 5 free trips through the tunnel. And as a community, as a Portsmouth business, we want to give back to our community. We actually actively seek out those areas on the Portsmouth and Norfolk side of the downtown and midtown tunnels where we operate to support. We support several local philanthropies. Here locally, the Her Shelter is one of our favorites. We also work with Edmark Hospice for Children, the Children's Museum. We work with 4Kids in Norfolk. We work with the Food Bank. We also have supported the Portsmouth African American Historical Society, and we are constantly looking for other ways to support both monetarily and through volunteer. We try to do some sort of volunteer event at least quarterly. We worked with several different outreach events. We've continued to try and reach out, and we have a lot of local people that work here that suggest to us different things to participate in that's near and dear to their hearts. If you're interested in information about the project, we have a number of ways to gain information. We have a newsletter that we send out quarterly. We send out monthly updates. Also, if you sign up, you can get every traffic advisory we send out so you'll know what's going on the roadways. We have a number of different resources with social media. If you're a Twitter person, you can follow us on Twitter. We have Flickr, we have, we don't have Facebook, we use VDOT's Facebook, we update with them, but we also have YouTube for the video you saw and other videos. I think that's all of the information I have. I'm open to questions. Yes, sir.
The meeting I attended with a spokesperson from ERC and from VDOT, there was discussion about the ability to recharge Easy Pass balances at different merchants as a way to help people who have their checking accounts but are trying to avoid the higher price tolling for pay-by-plate. Has anything developed with that?
The question was whether there are opportunities or locations to refill your Easy Pass using cash versus having a credit card assigned to it or having it go directly into your account. I'm going to turn that over to Karen. The only one that I'm aware of at this point is our customer service center. It's a full-service Easy Pass location as well, so you can walk in there and pay your Easy Pass or replenish your Easy Pass there. Karen may have more information.
At this time, that is the only one that I'm aware of. I know you can go to the DMV. I'll have to check on that. I'm not sure if you can do that at the DMV, but you definitely can at the new customer service center. If you choose not to use your credit card, you can put cash down, and that'll go toward your balance.
Yes, sir.
Can you use the Midtown Tunnel without using the MLK Expressway?
Can you use the Midtown Tunnel without using the MLK Expressway? Yes, you can. If you're looking, or it depends on which way you're going. There certainly is. And also, I failed to mention that with the Martin Luther King Expressway or Freeway now, it will be called the Expressway once complete. If you're traveling within Portsmouth only, there is no toll. If you're taking the London or High Street ramps and just traveling within Portsmouth, that will not be tolled. But certainly there is. Yes, sir.
50 cents per month if you buy your Easy Pass here in Portsmouth, but if you buy it from a place in Massachusetts, there's no charge.
I'm not really familiar with how other states operate Easy Pass. VDOT here administers Easy Pass, and you don't actually buy it, you obtain it. When you're done with it, you give it back, and then they return your balance of any money that you have on it. The 50-cent fee is just to have the Easy Pass. That's for Virginia. I understand that we accept Easy Pass from all 15 of the states that issue them. The one thing that we advocate is that if you have a Virginia Easy Pass, if you have a problem with it, then you can have it serviced here in Virginia. I don't know if you have anything more to add.
No, that is what I was going to add. I was going to say what Leila just said, that if you do have an issue with it and you purchase it or get it from another state, you would have to deal directly with whatever state that you got it with. You wouldn't be able to have it looked at through a Virginia Easy Pass distributor.
if there's a problem with it or anything else, if you need it replaced, you can't walk into, for one of our customer service centers and ask them to do it. You'd have to go back to the state of origination. So that's one of the things. And one thing to keep in mind with the Elizabeth River Tunnels project, because that processing fee is so hefty, if you consider this, if you take one trip through the downtown tunnel or the midtown tunnel and you're an unregistered pay-by-plate driver, that $3.18, that would be what it basically would, one round trip would pay for an Easy Pass for an entire year. So it's the 50 cents is relatively nominal to actually have the device itself.
Is that 50 cents a month?
It is 50 cents a month per transponder. Now, you can have more than one vehicle registered to a transponder. I have 3 on mine for my kids and my husband. We just have one account. Yes, ma'am.
How long is your center in Portsmouth going to remain open?
That center will remain open indefinitely. The Port Center Parkway, yes, ma'am. That's a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Elizabeth River Tunnels operates that.
Okay, so you can always be available.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I want you to be able to tell some friends. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
If you already have your transponder, are you still charged at 50 cents per month?
I'm not sure what, did you get your transponder from Virginia? If you might have been grandfathered in. Karen can probably speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're not receiving a bill for that, right? I mean, you're, okay. I'll have to check on that, to my knowledge, if you're grandfathered in, but I'll check on that.
Well, they said you wouldn't be charged at 50 cents.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's a correct statement. Anybody who got one in Virginia prior to September 30th of last year was grandfathered.
Can I repeat that for everybody? If you got your Easy Pass before September 30th of last year, then you do not pay a fee.
Until it breaks.
Until it breaks and you have to replace it.
Like your cell phone, yeah.
My question is, do people with pre-existing transponders get the 5 free deal also?
They have to be new. If you got it between October 31st and January 3rd, if you're adding a transponder to account or if you're getting a new account. Yes, sir.
My question is for VDOT. I travel Route 460 regularly. I think the idea of a toll 460 is pretty ridiculous. Plus, it looks like the Corps of Engineers will not approve it. Why don't you take the money you've allocated for that new 460 and put it toward this tunnel project, which would significantly lower, or should lower, the fee to go through the tunnel?
Well, the new road, which will be tolled, the current road will not be tolled, so that will still remain a viable option for people who choose not to use the new corridor, which will be 55 miles.
I understand that. My question is, why are you building the toll 460 anyway? Because you don't need it. I travel 460 on a regular basis, and the new one would be parallel to it. You don't need another road for paralleling 460.
Okay.
You put that money toward the tunnel.
Well, there was a lot of benefits of the project, including hurricane evacuation. If you're familiar with the road, okay, there's a lot of accidents that occur on this road, so it would be a safety benefit as well, along with the port, has contributed $250 million in funds toward it as well. So that's another benefit. It'll help with the truck traffic from the ports.
Well, the simple solution to the safety problem would be to add a single lane in the middle. The problem now is the 2 inside lanes are coming at each other at 55, 60 miles an hour with only a couple of feet of separation. If you added a center lane, which would be much less expensive than building a new toll road, you'd help that safety problem.
Okay, well, appreciate your comments, and we can speak after our presentation.
Mary and Sue, it sounds like you have another topic for second Tuesdays. Yes, ma'am.
There must be some misunderstanding about this guaranteed 13% profit. I'd love to have an investment that paid me 13% guarantee.
Well, the full risk, again, as I mentioned to you, the Commonwealth of Virginia is receiving a $2.1 billion project for an initial payment of $309 million. Now, the other $112 million that the Commonwealth paid was, if you'll recall, to defer tolling, which was supposed to begin last August. They paid to defer tolling until February 1st. Now, keep in mind that ERC carries the entire risk of all of the $1.3 billion in loans is on our backs. We're responsible for that. So when you put your money in a bank, there's zero risk. That's what, I've seen that. And there is no guarantee, ma'am. It is, the profit can be up to $13.5 million per the PPTA. It is not guaranteed. The Commonwealth does not pay ERC if they don't hit that number. That's been inaccurate. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't there a provision in the contract that if the volume of traffic in the tunnel does not meet a certain level?
Nope.
That,
there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee on revenue.
Finish the question. That the money that would be lost is then billed to the Commonwealth of Virginia?
No, ma'am. There is no, the 100% of the risk is carried by the private partner, Elizabeth River Crossings. There is no guarantee. I encourage you to look at the comprehensive agreement. It is on the website.
We have looked at the agreement, and there is a provision in there. And additionally, by the end of the 58 years, this $2.1 billion project will have received $20 billion in revenue by taxpayers who are already paying taxes for routine maintenance of roads, which used to include this tunnel. And now we're having to pay that in addition to the tolls for this project.
That money no longer goes to the downtown and midtown tunnels. We do not receive any tax funding or any additional funding from the Virginia Department of Transportation or the Commonwealth outside of the $309 million we initially received and the $112 million that was paid for to defer tolling.
But we're paying our taxes for the maintenance of our roads, and just now you have taken this road, which has come out of our taxpayer maintenance for roads, and put it in a special project so that we're paying taxes and we're paying tolls.
I don't think that your question is really directed to me. It sounds like more of a legislative issue. I apologize, but I can't speak for the Commonwealth as far as that goes, or the General Assembly on how the PPTA is run. Yes, sir.
Could you explain how the tolls might increase over the 58-year period of the contract you have?
The toll cannot increase until after construction is complete, and it can increase for up to 3.5%. Now, what you need to understand is that the Commonwealth...
Is that 3.5% per year?
It can increase up to 3.5%, which is approximately a nickel. What you should know is that the Commonwealth of Virginia allows for approximately 4% increase in cost to operate and maintain. So we're well within that. We are continuing to operate and maintain the downtown and midtown tunnels for that entire concession time. So we're below that 4% that the Commonwealth allocates for operations and maintenance. And keep in mind, the Commonwealth will not contribute any additional money to the operations and maintenance of this project.
But this toll could go up significantly over a period of time.
Well, but also you have to understand...
$5 in your 58 years.
Well, I would presume that it would establish or stay with the cost of inflation. That's the cost. That's the consumer price index of 3.5%. That's determined in the contract. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't hear the date of the open house on Thursday.
It's the 14th from 4:30 to 6:30, and it's at Calvary Baptist Church, and I don't remember the street address, but it's on London Boulevard.
2 days from now.
Yep, 2 days from today. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any provisions to help people that are really blindsided by these tolls, that are going to find a financial situation they cannot handle?
That would need to be legislated by your local legislators and the Commonwealth. We are held by a Virginia code as to who can. There are only a certain number of people that are allowed free passage based on Virginia code through a tunnel that is managed by a PPTA, which is what we fall under.
Well, was this whole deal ever legislated from Richmond?
This began in 2008, ma'am. The discussions were there. There were 5 independent review panels. There were public hearings. There was, if you've been here a while, the Virginian pilot, approximately 85 stories were done in the Virginian pilot talking about this. And initially, the toll amount, the $309 million that the Commonwealth contributed, was to reduce the toll to what the local politicians deemed to be an acceptable figure.
Maybe just
I can't speak for them. Yes, ma'am.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I saw on your screen it said May 08, somebody made a proposal.
Yes.
That needed help for the traffic. And then in September 08, you had a letter that said that they weren't going to say what was going on in the finances because they didn't want to interrupt the negotiations. So what we're talking about is May, June, July, August, September, 4 months when the issue really got sealed. And the lady was talking about, you were telling the lady about all the advertisement, but you only had 4 months for people to really get the idea of what was going to be happening here in
I'll
Portsmouth.
leave that one to you. That one's development because we weren't, the contract wasn't signed until December of 2011. There was that entire time from 08 until 11, there was nothing signed before 08.
I know, but see, what y'all did was that period of time. We weren't able to see the amount of money and what was going on, so everything after that was just...
You were here, yeah, Lauren was part of the VDOT team at that time.
There was, as you can see on the timeline, sorry, that was my head, sorry. As you can see on the timeline, in 2009, we had 5 independent review panels, and that was public meetings that were held with the local elected officials, and we had over 200 attendees in both Portsmouth and Norfolk that attended those meetings, each of those meetings. And we had speakers at the meetings, questions and answers. And after that, the actual agreement was signed with that input that we got at those meetings.
You want to say?
But it wasn't public.
They were public meetings, ma'am. They were.
The pricing information was.
There were actually, they started with tolling about $3.
It was over $3.
It was a little over $3, and the mayors of both Portsmouth and Norfolk said that was too high for their citizens, and that's where we came with the tolling rates that we are at now.
Okay, how about one more question in the back, and then we'll wrap it up.
Those of you who don't like the idea of tolls coming back, we are dealing with a legislator that would not raise the gasoline tax. When my Senator John Miller has come out all along that North Carolina has a much higher gasoline tax and the gas may be a penny higher per gallon. So we're dealing with this long legacy of refusing to raise the gasoline tax, and this is what we have. I think we're lucky that this is what's been worked out, because it could have been a lot worse. That's what, when you run around saying no new taxes, this is what you end up with.
You're very accurate.
Tax to me would have been the appropriate way to do this.
Virginia hasn't seen a gas tax increase since 1986. Now I ask you, how many of you can live on what you made today in 2013 that you made, if you were with the same salary you made in 1986, considering the amount of growth in population, the amount of growth in motorists using the roadways, the infrastructure that has needed to continue to grow with that. And the other thing to remember is that if you're local, you remember the penny tax referendum that came up, and there was quite a vocal crowd against that penny tax referendum. That would have paid for this project as well.
So thank you all for what the company that stepped in and done this. I think we're lucky, and maybe in the future, it could be, things could be a little, because I remember reading all this thing. It hasn't been secret. It's been out there. It's just that.
Thank you. I can't be the only one who gets the pilot.
Well, let's wrap up questions for now. The members from ERC and VDOT will stay around for a few more minutes, so if anybody wants to come up and ask them some questions privately, you're welcome to do so. In the meantime, I would ask everyone to please fill out the library's survey. We always ask people to fill out these Second Tuesday Forum surveys for us so we can get some feedback from you, if you like the session, what other sessions you would like to see us present. And our next session will not be until January. We do take December off, so please join us again in January. Dr. Michael Green from William & Mary will be coming to speak on the Second Amendment, another issue that's been in the news lately. So I hope you will all come out for that on January 14th. And if anybody did not get a survey, please let me know. I will be happy to come around and bring one to you. I also have pens if anyone needs a pen. And thank you all for coming, and let's give our guests a round of applause. Thank you.